My name is Susan Dirgins-Friend, and I am a double bass player. The double bass is the same as the string bass or the contrabass. It's basically the largest member of the orchestral string section, and which makes it kind of like the grandpa to the little violins. I was born in North Carolina at Camp Lejeune, which isn't a city, it's actually a military installation. My father was in the Marine Corps at the same time. And after that, my family moved around a lot. I came to South Florida in 1986 because I got a job in an orchestra that became known later as the Florida Philharmonic. And I played in that orchestra for 18 years. And that was a big part of my professional life. I started playing music when I started playing the bass when I was 12 years old. I don't really play any other instrument. I can pick a little bit on the piano, but that's about it. But I started when I was 12 in a school music program. I never had any private lessons until I was in college, actually. I played all through school, and I loved it so much. It was my favorite class. And I was a good student. I liked school, but I loved my music class. I loved orchestra. When I was in high school, I played in the jazz band as well as the orchestra, and I just loved it. When I got out of high school, I went to college because I always knew I was going to go to college. And I decided I wanted to study music. So at first I went to the college in my local city, which was in Sacramento, California. And then eventually I ended up at Indiana University. I got scholarships because I wouldn't have been able to afford to go there if I had had to pay it myself. I was able to use instruments in school. I did not have an instrument of my own, but I just kept working really hard and practicing, and eventually, while I was still in college, I was able to use some student loan money and some savings, and I was able to buy an instrument. And when I was getting towards the end of college, I started taking some auditions and eventually won the job that I got with the Florida Philharmonic. But along the way, when I was even in middle school, I started playing in little bands and things like that. My first professional job was with a group called Elwood Silva and the Silvatones, and it was a polka band with an accordion and the bass. And so my career started pretty early. And now since the orchestra is not around anymore, I play in other orchestras around town, and that's what I do. The bass, I think, is the best instrument, of course. That's why I chose it. It's the foundation of the orchestra, really. We play the parts that are down on the bottom, which makes it really important. It helps us to be able to drive the orchestra forward or pull the orchestra back. We can set the volume by playing louder or softer. And the other good thing I like about the bass is that you can play other types of music. You can play jazz, you can play country and western music, you can play pop music. Myself, I love classical. So that's what I do mostly. Different people have different things that they like. The thing that I like the least about the bass, I bet you could guess what it is. Carrying it around. It is not fun. I have a soft case that I put it in. It's kind of like a big giant backpack, but it's still kind of a pain in the behind to carry around, especially if it's raining or it's cold, or even when it's really hot. If I have to walk through downtown Miami or downtown Fort Lauderdale when it's really hot, it's not very much fun. Anyway, I think that now I'm going to play something for you so you can actually hear what the bass sounds like. I'm going to play a piece for you now. It's the bass solo movement from a piece called Pulcinella by the composer Stravinsky. And this is for a small orchestra, and it's a 20th century piece, but it sounds old because Stravinsky used a very old theme to base his music on. I've had a lot of opportunities to play a lot of wonderful performances with a lot of really great musicians in my life. I feel really blessed that way. I was able to do a solo on stage with Branford Marsalis, which was a real highlight for me. I think the most sort of fulfilling and personal thing that I ever did was we did a concert. I did a concert with Philippe Entremont, who's a pianist and a conductor, and through a series of mishaps, one of the pieces on the concert was canceled, and we had to substitute another piece right away, something the musicians already knew. So he chose Eine kleine Nachtmusik, which is a piece that is not exactly, we play it so much that it's kind of almost you feel like a boring. But because Philippe brought such an interesting take to this music, it was one of the most amazing concerts of my life. And I was so surprised and so thrilled. And, so you just never know. From day to day, you might look forward to a performance and it turns out meh, and you might think something is going to be meh, and it turns out great. If you're starting out in music, whether you think you want to play professionally or whether you're just playing for fun, you should always think of it in terms of trying to play the best that you can. So I would just try and spend as much time playing as you can, practice. Try and practice at least as much as you play. So if like you're playing in youth symphony, a lot of different groups and stuff like that, try and practice as much as you can. If you can afford a private teacher, get a private teacher. But if you can't, maybe you can get help from your school teacher. A lot of your school music teachers are really good musicians, and they can help you a lot. Even if they're a trombone player and you're a violinist, they can still help you with a lot of things. And sometimes you're going to fail, and you just have to not get too discouraged by it. Sometimes music, you can almost look at it the same way you look at sports. You're not always going to be chosen to be on the all-star team, but most people don't just give up after that. They keep going, and maybe the next time they get picked. It's the same thing in music. It's a discipline. So you really have to think of it that way. And, it can bring you so much joy. And speaking of joy, I get a lot of joy from playing in Orchestra Miami, with my friend Elaine Rinaldi, who is a wonderful person and an amazing sponsor and supporter and everything for Orchestra Miami. She literally carries Orchestra Miami on her back. And the thing I love about Orchestra Miami is we play all kinds of different performances. We don't just play regular classical music. I mean, we do that too. We play Beethoven, we play Mozart, but we also play amazing pieces by composers that you might not have heard of. We did a great concert of a really important piece called Atonement by Marvin David Levy, and it was just a great piece. And it was performed in an interesting place. We did it in an old temple in downtown Miami. And that's another thing that Elaine does is with Orchestra Miami is she finds really cool places for us to play in Miami, like old buildings, museums, not just regular concert halls. So it makes the concert more interesting and more visually interesting for the audience. And that's one of the reasons that I enjoy playing with Elaine. And I just think it's important that she's working really hard and Orchestra Miami works really hard to bring music to everybody in Miami. We do a lot of free concerts, and I think that's important because not everybody can afford the price of a ticket to go to a concert hall. So Orchestra Miami is a treasure in Miami, and I'm very happy to be associated with it. Thanks.